Hey everyone, welcome to the lesson. In this one, we're going to talk about different ways we can play the same thing and maybe get a little more out of the scales that we already know. In this case, just to kind of get the wheels turning and to get the concept going, I'm just going to use the C major scale. But you really could take this idea and apply it to many different things. Like you could go through all the different ways that you play the modes. Practice this over a Lydian version, a mixed Lydian, whatever you want. I'm going to do C major scale just to keep it kind of simple. But we're going to take the same scale and play it in 3 different ways and then check out some of the advantages to it. So the first version I'm going to do here is C major scale starting on the 8th fret of the low E string with the pinky finger, and it'll go from there. So we play that one note on the E string, then go to the A string, play 5th fret, 7th, 8th, next string down, we're going to go 5, 7, 9, then we go next string down, 5, 7, next string down, 5, 6, 8, next string down is 5, 7, 8, and then you can go back the other way. So again. Oh yeah, and by the way, I'll have a link down below for you can print out a PDF and practice along with this if you want to check it out. I know sometimes it's nice to have the visual right in front of you. So 8th fret, down a string, 5, 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 9, 5, 7, 5, 6, 8, 5, 7, 8, and then backwards. So that's version 1. Now we'll go to the next version, which is probably the one that's more common and maybe a lot of us learned first, which is with middle finger playing the C major, or it doesn't matter which key, but we're doing C major. Middle finger, A, 10 of low E, down a string we go, 7, 8, 10, down a string, 8, 9, or 7, 9, 10, 7, 9, 10, 8, 10, down a string, 7, 8. Now we're going to keep moving, and then I'm going to break it down a little more after. Now we're going to do the same exact scale, but now we're going to start with the pointer finger on the 8th fret instead of middle finger and instead of pinky like we did before. We get 8, 10, 12, down a string, 8, 10, 12, down a string, 9, 10, 12, down a string, 9, 10, 12. Then we shift up to B string and go 10, 12, 13, and then backwards. On a side note, I think a lot of people probably would play that with first finger, third finger, fourth finger for these larger gaps. I, for whatever reason, just tend to do that. If I can, I do it with the middle finger for my second note instead of ring finger. So take that with a grain of salt. That's that's a whole different topic. So now let's talk about why we might use one of these over the other. So the first example that I use where I do pinky finger for the major scale is really nice because it lays out kind of like if you can imagine how you're playing a G chord down here. It's kind of like that, but we just have it way up on C. And just knowing that scale and how to get around is nice because you can build your chords from here really nicely. You've got a C, a D minor, an E minor, or you can play that like that, an F major 7. You've got a G, which you can also make a 7th chord, A minor, B, it's really B half diminished, and then you're back to C. Now, I'm actually going to do a different video pretty soon on how I tend to look at the diatonic chords. I think of them a little differently than nowadays than I used to. So I think that might be worth sharing, but I'm going to save that because I don't want to throw too much into one lesson. But anyway, this position is really nice because then you can hit up a lot of your chord tones right there, and you can, I don't know, I think that this is a position where you can really easily see those chords unfold, which is really nice for improvising. You know, you can think of your C, your D minor, your E minor or E minor 7, your F, your G, or you can play that here, your A minor, your B half diminished, which is really just a G9 chord inverted, and then your C again. So you can see how that's really, everything just is right there. And in fact, they kind of all will have different versions of that. Now, the next version that we were checking out was with middle finger. And like I said, I think this is probably how a lot of us learn the major scale, or I think it is. It seems to be the most common fingering for it. And this one also, you can have your chords unfold pretty nicely, but you can do them with a bit of a different approach. You could do triads really easily right here. It just tends to lay out really nicely to do these kinds of triads, or like that. And you can play all your 7 diatonic chords without moving your hand left or right, which is really nice in that position. So there's definitely an advantage where maybe that position with the middle finger as your root is the most efficient in a lot of ways. So, and plus you can get some different voicings than maybe you would have had in the other position. It's really just about knowing different ways to play the same thing to get maybe that little creative spark going. You know, when you're improvising, sometimes that's all you need to kind of send you on into a cool path with your jam. Now, the next example where we start with the pointer finger, that one's really cool, kind of for a different reason to me. If you look at how many notes we have per string, we had 3 notes per string. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you could keep it going and go higher. I'm just doing a couple octaves of it. But that lends itself really well to economy picking, which is where you would go down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. And then if you go the other way, you could start that last note with an up to go backwards. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And you just, economy picking can create some really cool licks that are really tough to do with other techniques like alternate picking. It would be tough to do some of those, really fast runs. Like, I feel like Trey at the end of Reba in the studio version has a run that's in B flat, but it doesn't really matter. The pattern is like kind of this really fast, like spurt of notes that run all the way up, and something like that. I'm not actually sure if he's doing economy picking, but if you want to do that kind of run, economy picking really works well. So I'll tab this little lick out. It kind of cascades up and down. It's really fun. And if you were to do that with alternate picking, it would be pretty tough. The speed of it isn't that really, it doesn't matter. You'll get faster with it if you play it a lot, but it's more about just the flow of it and the efficiency of doing the 2 downs in a row or the 2 ups in a row. And so even just practicing that, even if you don't really use it in your day-to-day playing, it's just a good technique to have at your disposal if you want it, if you need it at some point. Another thing that we can do with this concept is then practice not only just doing the major scale, just running all the way from lowest note to highest note, but then practicing our major thirds, our triads, our 4-note voicings. This is something I have a lot of students do if they want to get better at improvising. This is one of the first things I'll have them do because it really helps to see the chords unfold and how the harmony works. So if we take the first example with the pinky finger, we can go. All I did there was I harmonized each note in the scale. So the scale for C major goes C, D, E, F, G. A, B. And then you're back to C. We were doing 2 octaves. Or I was doing 2 octaves in this example. So you go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, if you take each note in the scale and give it either its major or minor third, you get C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B minor, but really when you build the 4-note voicing, it becomes a half diminished chord, and then you're back to C major. And then if you take that same idea of harmonizing your scale and then do it in the other position, it looks like this. Middle finger to start out. That's your major third for C. D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B minor, but really half diminished at the, if we keep building it, and then C major again. You can go backwards. So that's that one, and then we can do the same kind of thing up here in the other version that starts with the pointer finger. But I think you get the idea. You just take that one position, let it kind of expand out, and you keep doing that in the different positions, and then before you know it, we're taking one scale, C major scale, and we've figured out how to play it in a range that goes from 5th fret all the way up to 13th fret, which is kind of awesome because you can really open up the fretboard that way. That's just one scale. If we take that kind of approach and we can do that with different scales or different parts, different modes, we can really open things up. You can play anything anywhere on the fretboard, and that's, I think, the ultimate goal. For me, it is. I want to be able to play whatever I'm thinking or feeling without being attached to where I'm doing it or even how I'm doing it. And you can keep adding it. You can go triads, and so on. So I'll actually tab out those 3 versions up to 4-note voicings. And that in and of itself is a really good practice to help just build an awareness of the fretboard and just expand things in general. So yeah, cool. I just wanted to do a quick lesson with that one idea. And what I would do is take this as just the beginning and then think of other things you could apply that to. Whether it's just maybe a song that you already know. Okay, well, how can you play that differently and just expand it and diversify your approach? And just kind of experiment with it and have fun with it. And if you don't, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, or if you have any questions, as always, just email me or leave a comment, and I'll definitely answer it. And I'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much.